From the high mountains of the great Southwest Canadian Rockies, I bid you all good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the case may be, wherever you are in this world, of which is covered by this radio program. Welcome to Dark Matter Radio. My name is Ronnie McLean, and we're going to have a very interesting program already, I can tell. We're going to dive deep into the infinite universe and all its possibilities. So hold on tight, grab a cup of coffee, some tea, whatever tobacco products you might be smoking, and settle in for a very, very interesting program. Great Grand Rising to us all. I know there's many people out there that are right now pretty much scared to death. I mean, scared completely out of their wits. I know that there's a lot of people out there that at some point have a pretty good handle on things and believe that they know exactly who and what they are and what they're going through. And I know that there are people who are just completely, utterly, and totally confused and wondering why we are going through the things that we're going through. Well, comes a time where we have to understand that we are now starting to pass the crossroads. That the path that this so-called world is on has gone beyond a point where people have been speaking about it for quite some time. I mean, some people speak about it in the Bible in terms of revelations. They speak about it in books of the Quran. They even speak about it in the Torah and a lot of other different ancient books where they have talked about things about times like these and what we're going through. And so what I want to do now is really give you a good sense as to where all this information really comes from and how it was interpreted in the real sense back when all of these things were actually being written about what we are starting to go through today. Revelation calls it the birth pains. The seals are now being broken. The 7 seals are now being broken. So I'm going to talk to you from, again, Thoth, a Hermetic text in which Thoth's prophecies come down to us drawn from what they call ancient Egyptian wisdom and traditions that is more than 4,500 years ago. And some believe they are that old. But what we're going to be reading today, the Lament of Hermes, is most likely, in a historical sense, older than 40,000 years ago. And as we get a little bit more into this, I want you to understand that when Thoth was on this earth, he was known by a few different names. So in Egypt, he was known as Thoth. Greece, he was known as Hermes. And in Rome, he was known as Mercury's. And here we have the 3 translations of his name. And much older times, about maybe 450,000 years ago, he was known as Nick-Kazenza, a child of one of the Anunnakis. And I'm not going to get too deep into that right now because what I really want to do is get into something that is going to help you understand the times that we're in. These are strange times indeed for a lot of people who are not understanding of who and what they truly are. And this is one of the things that Thoth was actually teaching, quote unquote, mankind who he is. And he had a lot of different types of teachings. One was for what they would call the actual gods, and the other ones was for the created man. And then on the temple walls, as it was explained, there were also others that were created. Some were created without even spirits. They were just what they would call woods. But Thoth, in his teachings, he would sit down and he would have a scribe, and he would talk to the people around him about the questions that the student may have at any particular time. and that became his classroom. But towards the end, when Thoth was finished writing his emerald tablets, he had a lament to one of the students, Asclepius. And this lament was something that I feel is meant for our time. A time many will feel that is chaos, a time many feel is laden with sadness and death, a time where we can expect war, and then the ending of all things of this world that you've become so accustomed to know. So I just want to give you this lament, a prophecy, ages and ages ago, that Thoth has given to his students. And it starts like this. Do you know, Asclepius, that Kemet is an image of heaven, or to speak more exactly, in Kemet, all the operations and the powers which rule and work in the heavens has been transformed to earth below. Nay, should it rather be said that the whole cosmos dwells in this, our land, as in its sanctuary. And yet, since it's fulfilling and it's fitting that wise men should know all events before they come to pass, you must not be left in ignorance of this. There will come a time when it will be seen that in vain all Kemites honored the deities with heartfelt piety and industrious service, and all of our holy worship will be found bootless and ineffectual, for the gods will return from earth to heaven, and Chem will be forsaken, and the land which was once home of the religion be left desolated, bereft of the presence of its deities. The land and the region will be filled with foreigners, and only will men neglect the service of the gods. And Chem will be occupied by Satyans, or Indians, or by some such race from the barbarian countries thereabout. And that day will our most holy land, the land of the shrines and temples, be filled with funerals and corpses. To thee, the holy Nile, I cry. To thee I foretell that which shall be swollen with torrents of blood. Thou wilt rise to the level of thy banks, and thy sacred waves will not only stain, but utterly fooled and foul in ignorance, but utterly fouled with gore. Do you weep at this, Asclepius? There is where... Do you weep at this, Asclepius? Well, there is worse to come. Chem herself will yet have more to suffer. She will fall into the far more piteous plight, and will be infected with yet more grievous plagues of this land, which once was holy, a land which loved the gods, and wherein alone, in reward for her devotion, the gods declined to sojourn upon earth, a land which was the teacher of mankind in holiness and piety. This land will go beyond in all cruel deeds. The dead will far outnumber the living, and the survivors will be known for Kemites of their tongue alone. But in their actions, they will seem to be men of another race. O Chem, of my religion nothing will remain but an empty tale, which thy own children in time will come not to believe. Nothing will be left but graven words, and only those stones will be of thy piety. And in that day men will be weary of life, and they will cease to think the universe worthy of reverent wonder and of worship. And so religion, the greatest of all blessings, for there is nothing, nor has been, nor ever shall be, that can be deemed a greater boon, will be threatened with destruction. Men will think it burden and will come to scorn it. They will no longer love this world around us. This incomparable work of God, this glorious structure which has been built, the sum of good, made up of things of thy diverse forms, the instrument whereby the will of God operates in that which has he made, ungrudgingly favoring man's welfare. This combination of accumulation of all the manifold things that can call forth in variation, praise and love the beholder. Darkness will be preferred to light, and death will be preferred throughout more profitable than life. No one will raise his eyes to heaven, and pious will be deemed insane. The impious, wise, the man will be thought a brave man, and the wicked will be esteemed as good. As the soul, as to the soul, and the belief that it is immortal by nature, or may hope to obtain to immortality, and as I have taught you, all this work they will mock at it, and will even pursue themselves and persuade themselves that it is false. No word of reverence or piety, no utterance of worthy of heaven and of the gods of heaven will be heard or believed. And so the gods will depart from mankind, a grievous thing, and only evil angels will remain, who will mingle with men and drive the poor wenches by main forces into the manner of recklessness, crime, into wars and robberies, and frauds, and all things hostile to the nature of the soul. Then will the earth no longer stand unshaken, and the sea will bear no ships. Heaven will not support the stars in their orbits, nor will the stars pursue the constant course in heaven. All voices of gods will be silenced and dumbed. The fruit of the earth will rot. The soil will turn barren, and the very air will sicken and sullen the stagnation. After this manner will old age come upon the world. Religion will be no more. All things will be disordered and dishonored in a way. All good will disappear. But when all this has befallen, Asclepius, then the Master and the Father God, the first before all, the Maker of the God who first came into being, will look on that which has come to pass, and will say, and then will stay the disorder by the counter workings of his will, which is the good. He will call back the right path those who've gone astray. He will cleanse the world from evil, now washing it away with the water floods, and now burning it out with the fiercest of fire, or again expelling it by the war and pestilence, and thus he will bring back his world to the former aspect, so that the cosmos will once more be deemed worthy of worship and wondering reverence. And God, the maker and restorer of the mighty fabric, will be adored by the men of that day with unceasing hymns of praise and blessing. Such is the new birth of the cosmos. It is the making again of all things good, a holy, awe-striking restoration of all nature and of all nature. And it is wrought in the process of time by the eternal will of God. For God's will has no beginning. It is never the same as it is now. Even so it has ever been, without beginning. For it is the very being of God to purpose. And this is the Lament of Hermes. And this is a time for you to take a pause to understand who and what you are as a being, and what we are all up against in terms of standing up and allowing our soul. Remember, our soul is not the body. Our soul has a body. Our body is occupied by us, the soul. And it is in this soul that we must understand that we are the precious elements of all of the things of this universe. And we must begin to start the meditation of coming back to the light, to who and what you are. For you are love, for you are peace, for you are filled with the greatness of the never-ending light and the presence of greatness that is in you. You are the very thing the world needs today in order for it to be able to shine the way the true Creator, the true God, the true beginning of all has meant it to be. Take time to get to know who you are, the light being that is within inside of the body. We have passed the crossroads. You can no longer be on one side of the fence or the other. For if you are on one side of the fence, you are on the other. For now there is only light, or you're headed to darkness. Allow your soul to be your guide. And I know that there's a lot of scary things that are around us right, but allow your inner being to understand and know that a process has to take place. As we're going through this carbon 7, carbon 12 transformation, we are changing. And there's a whole lot of things in this world that aren't going to be able to change with it. It just is what it is. So I say to you, the beautiful light, the beautiful soul, the beautiful light beings that are within the body, take care of your body. Make sure that you eat fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Make sure you eat electric foods. Draw the toxins out and stay away from anything that is negative. For your soul only wants one thing for you. For your soul only wants one thing for itself. And that is all the manners of goodness of being that is possible. There is nothing low dimensional about you. And that's the reason why your thoughts always gravitate to the high. If there's anything negative in your path, think high above it and become exactly what you are meant to be. A being of light within the body. For you have a body and for you a soul. Great grand rising to us all. May you be blessed and full of love.